and speak with him about that issue, because we've talked about several other issues, and that's never came up, so
Yeah, I don't know if he was completely non-committal and basically just said he needed more information from the fire district, and he didn't go with what he needed, so.
Well, I think we can set an initiative for the 2016 budget, but take it under advisement and plug in a change later if we need to. Yeah, I mean, the better we can understand it, and the more information we have, the easier it is to make a decision. But that sounds like a critical piece.
And going forward, I mean, we're going to be partners in this for,
that is indeed a
or
fact.
we are already, but, I think we should have a good partnership and include them in making this decision.
But, yeah, but when you look at the deal and when we're looking out for our taxpayers, it's important to watch every cent, so.
sure, and we understand that, Mayor, and.
I know you do, Rob. I know you do, Chief. Do you have anything else you'd like to?
So what date or?
Let's.
Have somebody get with us?
Let's figure out.
What would you like?
Well, I mean, okay, so let me just say, I was just looking, Monday, it looks like we're scheduled from 6 to 8, right? I mean, I'd be willing an extra 30 minutes or what have you.
Absolutely.
I know I'm speaking for myself, but if we're gonna be here anyhow, I don't know if that gives you enough time.
Well, that's what I'm like, and Rob's telling us that's not enough time. He doesn't wanna say that's not enough time, but that's just what it says.
We didn't get this packet until Thursday afternoon, and our accountant really hasn't had, I mean, he's in his tax season right now, and he's looked through it and had some questions about it, but he hasn't really had time to get it under, because we sure would like to have him here too.
And we've got a couple of council meetings that we could slide a work session in front of.
I think so.
Well, we might have.
So why don't we let them, let the district look at it, let us know when they think they're gonna be ready, because we have per the agreement, we would be budgeting this amount, so we can move forward with that budgeted amount, and we'll see what they come back with, when they're ready. That way we don't set a time frame today.
Obviously, as quickly as possible,
Right.
I mean, from everybody's
But he can get back with us and let us know
that they
when he's
wanna
ready.
be able to plan accordingly, so I know they'll get
Right.
it done, but a week sounds too fast, I think, from their
Yeah,
perspective.
I think that's a little bit.
Great.
Anybody
Okay.
else right now? Chief, thank you for coming.
All right, thank you for your time.
Always good to see you.
Okay.
Thank you. Laura, thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. If you've got something that you would like to say, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and be heard.
Evening, Council and Mr. Mayor. My name's Rich Melton. I live at 521 East Hawthorne. First off, I thought during some council work sessions, we were going to have time, if we're out here in the peanut gallery, to voice concerns or opinions based on things you guys talked about. I think we've talked about that at other meetings. I haven't seen that yet, because it's now an hour's gone by since all of the talking about different things about economic development. I had some things that I wanted to point out. You guys were talking about incentives and different things for certain groups of people, certain manufacturers or tech companies. I'm just going to tell you, if you don't offer that to everybody, right now Gardner cannot afford to not have whatever it is that wants to come to town. So you've got to look at it. We can't just be selective and go, hey, we just want tech guys or this or that. We've got to have it to everybody. Also, I'll never understand this for the life of me. For some reason, we keep focusing on economic development downtown when we don't own any buildings but this one downtown. If you're so focused on economic development downtown and what we need to bring here, we're not looking at the rest of the town as a whole. So, I mean, maybe if we thought about economic development everywhere instead of just downtown, downtown will fix itself. The other thing is, if you really want to look at what would be beneficial for Gardner, we need businesses that start here and stay here. So if you had some kind of a incubator system for startups like myself, my company is a great example. As a manufacturer, there's no place in Gardner for me to move. Yet I started my business here, and if without some kind of an incubator or some other place to move to, as a manufacturer, I'm not gonna stay in Gardner forever. There's a limit to where I can go and what I can do, but an incubator, if it was, if the city would get behind that with a developer, you'd have all these businesses that actually start here, and then once they get big enough to move outside, they're gonna stay in this general vicinity. That's where companies up the highway have done such a great job of having places for these companies to start at. And Garmin's a great example. They started in Olathe, but then they just stayed there. That's what Gardner needs to do, in my opinion. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
Good evening. I also too wanted to make a couple comments about the economic development. And again, also, I thought that at one of our council meetings that everybody kind of agreed that there would be some interaction with the public during work sessions. And again, I haven't seen that as well. The gentleman that was giving a presentation kept saying how important it was to know what the surrounding communities are doing. But when I look at this sheet, we don't have Edgerton anywhere on here. Edgerton's knocking at our back door. Why would they not be considered important enough to have on this surrounding jurisdictions incentives if he repeatedly said it's important to know that? So maybe somebody can speak at some point in time to why Edgerton was not included on this particular survey. Debbie Hickman, 848 South Dumac. Sorry, I did that backwards. Thank you.
Very good. Now, I see Greg Martinet approaching the podium. Greg is the new
segue.
President of the Southwest Johnson County EDC. We had put him on the agenda last time as a presenter, but it was really meant to be a introduction. He hasn't been feeling especially well, so I suggested that if he was, and I'm still looking a little green around the gills, but that if he was feeling up to it tonight, he could come and talk to us a little bit. And introduce himself to the council and those assembled. So.
Thanks, Mayor, Council, Cheryl. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I am the new president of the Southwest Johnson County Economic Development Corporation, and just now 2 months into it. And like the mayor said, I wanted to give you a little bit of my background and talk just briefly, give you an overview of some of the things that we're doing already. The Southwest Johnson County EDC has been in existence for about 25 years, and we're doing some things that have never been done before, and it's important for you to know that, and as we work through some of these things. I've been a professional economic developer for 25 years now, and started off in the utility business, telephone, and then into electric and gas, and the last 15 years representing communities as a consultant, so working with communities like Gardner to help them reach the goals such as you've talked about earlier this evening. And over those years, I've worked with companies like Harley-Davidson, who you heard Bob Marcus talk about the other night. And in fact, one of the incentives that he mentioned securing the land for Harley-Davidson, we actually bought the land and gave it to them. It was a requirement to land the deal, and it's typical of this one consultant that's very popular that they used is he always requires that his client gets free land. And so we came up with a creative process where the utility could buy the land, donate it back to the state of Missouri, an entity of the state of Missouri, who then gave it to Harley-Davidson, and the utility got a tax deduction for that. So that's one of the interesting creative ways that incentives are used throughout the process. There's 4 things that we're really going to focus on, and to be a top-shelf economic development organization, which we're going to be, you have to be better than everybody else at these 4 things, because if you don't do these, incentives aren't going to matter. We're never going to offer incentives because we're not going to have anybody to offer them to. So there's a lot of work that has to be done before we can start offering incentives. And first of all, we're totally revamping our website. It's antiquated, it has old data on it. That is the front door to our community, and it's got to be a lot better, and it'll be state-of-the-art, and we're about halfway done on that now. Our site and building database, that's where consultants, state Department of Commerce folks, corporate executives, that's where they go initially to look for available sites and buildings. If it isn't up to date, you're not in the game. And so we've got to do a much better job with that, and we are doing that. And going along with that, I have to understand the intricacies of those sites and buildings, and that's some of the work that I'm doing now. We must own our labor force data. The first question you get is, do you have the labor, not only for my business to start today, but 5 years from now and 10 years from now? And so we will have an advisory task force that the mayor has volunteered to serve on, that with a number of other individuals, that where we will be experts on the labor force in this region. And then, as the gentleman said earlier, we've got to take care of our existing business, and that's not something that the Southwest Johnson County EDC has done in the past. We will have a very aggressive business retention program that we've already started on, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here as we go. But initially, when I took the job, I gave our executive committee a 60-day plan, and here's what we're doing. First of all, I retained Krista Claus. She has worked with me in the past. You may recognize her name. She'll be working on a contract for us, but she is the present business editor for KMBZ Radio. You'll hear her on 98.1 every single morning. She is a past business editor for the Kansas City Business Journal, and she was an anchor and reporter for Channel 5 and Channel 9 before that. But she has a very keen business sense. She can get in the door to talk to the business folks. She knows how to talk their language, and then she knows where to go to get results for needs that they may have. She will be assisting me with that. Also, she will be in charge of our social media and other media, and she's writing a lot of the copy on our new website right now. We're meeting with all of our investors, partners, and business leaders. This is taking some time, but we're trying to knock that out, because I need to know what you want in your community. And I've been fortunate to meet with Cheryl on several occasions, and the mayor as well, and go to the symposium the other night that was excellent, and we're going to continue to do that. We needed to make some organization enhancements, and we're doing that. We're revamping our bylaws, some of the board makeup. First thing that I wanted to do was make sure that our three biggest investors, Gardner, Edgerton, and New Century Airport, are on our executive committee, the ones that make the biggest decisions, which that wasn't the case before. Makes no sense to me, but that's going to be changed. We've, as I mentioned, we're establishing our social media presence. This is today's marketing. There's really no better, more cost-efficient way to do that. And just today, we were on Twitter and our Facebook fan page talking about the article in the Kansas City Business Journal Friday, or the list that had Gardner as the third fastest growing community in the metropolitan area over the next several years. So that's an impressive data, and we wanted to make sure that everybody sees that. So we're tweeting it, we're Facebooking it, and as the day's gone on, my phone's been buzzing as people have retweeted and favored it. So I've also what's called boosted that on Facebook. So it'll go to approximately 12,000 folks above the age of 28 that live in Gardner, Spring Hill, and Edgerton, and gives them an opportunity to talk about that as well. But that's not just for promoting us. We'll also use that for business retention. If one of our companies needs to hire 10 or 15 or 20 employees at a certain level, we'll put that on our Facebook page. We've done it before. It's very successful. If they're having a special promotion, we'll do that as well. So that'll be a big part of what we do. I mentioned our state-of-the-art webpage. It's really, I just got to see the new template. It's going to be phenomenal. It will link into all the work that you've done here, the economic development plan, the comprehensive plan, the incentive policy, as that is finalized, and we'll be very proud of that. Site and buildings update is well underway. That's a long, hard process of what I call a lot of grinding economic development work, but it's stuff that needs to be done, and it needed to be done yesterday. Then in May, early part of May, we're going to have a kickoff or relaunch of the organization, where we'll roll out the new website, we'll announce some new membership enhancements and levels of membership. We're going to make being an investor in the Southwest Johnson County EDC much more valuable for those people that are, based on some of the things that I've just mentioned here. then we'll also roll out the new plan. And then I think about the same time in May, I'll be coming back to you with a budget and more detailed plans, what we intend to do on your behalf. But just to leave you here quickly, I want to give you what you can see as attributes of our organization, of our staff. And I think it's important to recognize that this is a new game for this region. We're taking economic development to a new level. I've been in this area for a long time, so I've known what's gone on down here, and there's a lot of things new that we can do. And one of the things I didn't mention is retail. And I mentioned a few of the projects I've worked on, but I've been intricately involved in attracting retail for over 15 years, and so we'll be at the International Council of Shopping Centers in May. We'll be attracting office. We'll be attracting high-level commercial. It's important that we diversify or keep diversifying this area and not just become branded as a logistics center. So that's a major focus of mine. But the attributes that I want you to recognize in us is we'll be consistently professional. We'll be customer-driven, and every one of you is our customer. We'll be stakeholder-led, and you are a stakeholder. We'll be results-oriented. I will come to you with measurables, and at the end of the year, we will go over those measurables and see where we were, and we'll work to get those measurables together. We're going to be sophisticated, and I've mentioned some of the things we're working on. The high-level website and the way we go about doing business is going to be very sophisticated and first class. We're going to leverage the talents and resources of our partners. Kansas City Power and Light is a major contributor for projects. In fact, they're paying for half of our website. Kansas City Area Development Council is one of the best ED organizations in America, and they spend a lot of money marketing and promoting this area. We will leverage what they do there. Technology is our friend. I mentioned the website and social media. We will use that for marketing so that our customers who want to move their business here understand that they're moving into a very technology-friendly area. We'll be excellent communicators. We will be laser-focused. We're going to be fun and exciting, and sometimes that's not easy in economic development. And we're going to possess the intangibles. And I want to focus on that for just a minute. You do business with people you know, like, and trust. And you can have the best incentives in the world. You can have the best piece of ground. But somebody else is going to have those same things. All those incentives that were on that board, every other community in Kansas can offer those. So how do you set yourself apart? Well, every deal that's ever done, they're sitting around a table, and it'll come up where the decision makers, and they'll say, well, this community, they both have this, they both seem like they've got everything we need. The labor is good, the incentives look good, the ground's good. So how do they decide? Well, they choose who they know, like, and trust. And that's where we're going to separate ourselves from everybody else. So with that, I have to answer any questions, or we can wait till next time. I thank you for your time. Sorry about my voice.
Yeah, that was more comprehensive than I was actually anticipating.
I hope I didn't take too long.
I appreciate, no, we're glad to have the information, and we look forward to having you back come May to talk about the details and the new launch of the new EDC.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Mary Bush, and I've served as your Administrative Services Manager for the City of Gardner. This has been my home for 14 years. I've been a small business owner involved in this community and served the city as an employee for 8 years. With our homes and our businesses that we have invested our family over $1 million in this community. I am not a fly-by-night citizen who comes in nor an employee. So I know you have on your agenda tonight the review of position elimination. So regardless of what you decide, I have a couple thoughts. One, I'd like to address in the spirit of transparency and honesty about the compensation study. I can't answer to that because your human resource staff was completely left out of this process. I find that interesting, and in all of my years of experience serving in human resources, I have never seen that done. So we have a lot of new directors, a lot of new management.
I would have thought you would have utilized the staff who knew all of the positions. So want to make sure you have that information as you go forward with your study. Second, to the city council, to the directors and the employees of the city of Gardner. You are some of the finest people I've had the privilege and honor to serve with. These employees are a team of dedicated, hard-working, committed employees who deserve all the respect that often they do not get from leadership and the citizens of this community. I wish each of them the best, and regardless of what happens in the future, please take care of them. They are fine people and they are committed to your community. I wish each of you the best, and I thank you for your help and support during my tenure working for the city of Gardner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Other public comments? With no one coming forward, we move to the consent agenda. Is there a council member that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Please, item number 3, please.
Okay. So, would we like to, I'd entertain a motion on approving consent agenda items 1, 2, and 4.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Freeman, second Winters, that we approve consent agenda items 1, 2, and 4. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Consent agenda items 1, 2, and 4 pass. Authorize the city administrator to execute an agreement with Selectron Technologies to implement an integrated voice response system for utility billing. Who's gonna handle this one?
Do you want me to go to the podium?
If you've got the mic there by you, that's fine. Questions for?
I did have a few
Laura
questions.
about number 3?
Yeah, first question I had was the term of the agreement. It was a 5-year agreement?
Yes.
Was there any consideration made for even a 3-year agreement or a shorter term, or was this the only one available from the vendor?
Actually, that question has to go to Greg.
Okay.
I came in on, I don't know. It was 5 years until, plus additional extensions until somebody stopped.
Right.
But I don't know, Amy? Amy.
When they price coded it, that we asked for in the budget, it was on a 5-year contract based on the migration of information.
Okay.
And so we could go on a yearly contract, but it is much more expensive because you have to migrate the information and go through security costs. So we had them only quote us the 5-year.
Okay.
And that's what we had asked for in the budget.
The other question I had, and that makes perfect sense, the other question I had was in regards to the annual fees and how the annual fees are set for an allotment up to 20,000 calls annually, which obviously is a huge increase from what we've seen. I didn't know if that was just their entry level of call volume or if there's an opportunity to look at a smaller call volume from a cost perspective, because it just seems to be more capacity than we're ever going to need.
That call volume, we talked about, if you want me to.
You probably should go to the podium, though.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's okay.
The cost that, when we asked for the system, it was mostly for people who wanted to make a payment over the
Right.
phone. However, when we started looking at the call volume for that, if you choose to call on the weekend and see what your account balance is, if you have a delinquent, that actually acts as a call as well. We didn't account for those calls because we do not track them. And so we actually felt like, based on what we're taking in payment, this will be available 24/7, and so people can just access their account as well. And so this is where we actually put what we felt our call volume would be, and that our next step would probably be that we would have to come to you and ask for an addition, based on people calling, and getting those inquiries.
Okay. The other, and, I know Christie had a couple questions, so I try not to steal all of them, but, will there still be easy access for those individuals, especially, you know, I think about my mom, she doesn't want to talk to the computer. Will she still be able to arrange payments by phone through the customer support representatives in the office and have an easy way to access those people, rather than a dial-by menu?
Yes, we will hope to try to get people to use the automated system. However, I'll be honest, I always say, we want to make it easy for people to pay, and so if they're not comfortable with that, yes, we still have access. We'll be able to take them at the counter, over the phone. We're not under any obligation for them to have to use the integrated system, so.
Perfect.
And
then my
there's a-
final question,
There was also an option if they want to bail out of that automated circuit anytime, they can always go and ask for the operator, just like
okay.
Yeah, and come
anything
back to
else.
us, so.
My final question is probably a great question. Just to make sure, we're committed to SunGuard as the solution for well into 5 years, because reading the contract, there's no escape. Even if we quit, unless it's a failure of service, we're committing to the dollars for a 5-year term, so.
My understanding is that they're already looking at that, and that the recommendation, I'm sorry, you were the one doing the study, right?
Yeah, somebody asked me as well. So actually, I started the process of the software project.
Okay.
And so we did ask them for a price quote on what it would cost if we left SunGuard and went to another software, which is a $20,000 fee.
Okay.
And the reason for that is they have to rewrite all of the information because they're gonna be linking into the system to pull the accurate account real time, so when you make a payment, it shows up on the account. However, so with the software project and the cost of what that would be to actually implement a whole new software, and by the time you sign those contracts and go through training and setup, you're looking at, my feeling, my personal feeling, the project isn't done, would be that you're looking at least 2 years without having this service. And I know every penny counts. I will tell you that I can tell you the call volume that we had today, because it was a due date, was insane. I probably myself, because we were short-staffed, so when you have somebody out on vacation, 80-degree weather, I myself probably took over 40 payment by phone today. And so I can honestly tell you I don't think I accomplished anything else today. So I understand that we're looking at that contract's up. I just feel that there's a huge need in utility billing for the IVR system. And so I know that's a $20,000 price tag for it to be switched to another software. But Selectron would go with that software.
But we could do that?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I just had actually 2 quick questions. One of them, have we looked at, or is there an opportunity, I guess with this technology, do we have opportunities in other organizations to link in and use automated systems to help drive efficiency?
And yes, they do have other packages, such as outbound calls. So we could look at packages to add on if we wanted to call and remind people to pay their bill, if we were gonna have a set power outage or a water line maintenance, where we're taking something down, and we can group them into neighborhoods. Yes, they do have other packages that you can add on to it. They're all priced individually, and so I will be honest, I did not look at that price package.
Well, and I'm just thinking more longer term, if we're investing, we know, I mean, I'm one of them, that calls that main number and asks, can you transfer me to Jeff Stewart, or what have you, and I'm sure people ask to talk to Jody, or what have you. It would be nice if we can start thinking long term about maybe some of those common call drivers, that perhaps we could build off of this. Okay. The other thing is, you talk about the man hours, this saves 513 hours, which is about, I guess, 13 weeks. So can you talk a little bit I understand efficiency-wise, but from a cost, I mean, does it drive overtime? Does it cause you to require an extra person? What is the other side of this equation?
Well, I will tell you, just starting out, when I asked for this originally, we actually answer the main City Hall phones, utility billing. We have 2 customer service reps, a utility billing specialist, and myself. We have meter readers that, when they're inside, answer phones, but we are the hub for the 4 cities. We're almost like the city receptionist as well. So, for example, today, because again, we were short-staffed. We may pick up a call and ask them to hold, pick it up, and it may be for another department. So we just had a customer that actually stood on hold when they didn't even want to talk to us. And so then we had 3 that wanted to make payments. So now we have 3 people in line, 3 on the phone that want to make payments. So I think it's a value of customer service too, where they know that if they want to make a payment and that's all they're calling for, they're not waiting on hold, they're not feeling rushed at the counter. I mean, it has a trickle-down effect. And there's other things that we would like to be doing, you know, projects we would like to be taking on, or not feel like we're rushing on a customer who may want to call to pay their bill, but they also want to talk about how come their bill's higher this month, or how come their water consumption jumped. Well, sometimes when you have a line out here and all the phones ringing in the background, sometimes I feel like, you know, they feel like maybe they're a little bit rushed. And so I think it's, I guess, a good cost of service to the customer, would be my main selling point.
513 hours isn't insignificant when you're talking about a blended rate, including management as well as customer service, so.
Okay, no, I get it, thanks.
Last question I had, from a finance perspective, what was the budgeted amount that we had for this project in the 2000?
Exactly this.
Okay, so it came out
It is exactly as stated, it was exactly as budgeted, because we had these quotes before, and we just double-checked to make sure everything was
Correct.
still perfect, because you actually approved it in the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Amy, we don't see you at the podium often, but it was nice to have you here this evening. Thank you. I'd entertain a motion on consent agenda item number 3.
So moved.
Second. Motion Harrison, second Freeman, that we approve consent agenda item number 3. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Consent agenda item number 3 passes.
Amy's very excited.
You
Good
have
for
a secret password.
Yeah.
Saying that you're set.
Okay, before we get started on the new business items, there is an executive schedule on the agenda for after new business item number 4. I'm just gonna let everybody know we're gonna call for that after new business item number 3 and before new business item number 4. So just be advised. New business item number 1, consider awarding the transformer supply and installation contract to ABB Incorporated for transformer number 1 replacement project, city project number 1402. So on and so forth. David Green, good evening.
Good evening. This project will replace the Transformer 1, which is the step-up transformer for the city's generators at the Energy Center, and also the main substation breaker. The project will be in several contracts. This is the first for the transformer. Each of these items have varying lead times, some approaching a year, so that's why we're bidding the transformer now. Transformer 1 is about 40 years old. One of the issues we have with it is the water separation system has a bladder. It's a membrane that fails periodically. It's on the verge of failure now. The replacement transformer would do like the other ones, it has nitrogen to keep it pressurized, to keep the moisture out of it. Currently, from the last oil test, we're approaching the need to replace the bladder and to basically press the oil, which is get all the moisture and impurities out of it. The substation breaker was built in 1957. It's rated at 240 kilovolts. We operate 161 kilovolts. The only reason it hasn't been had to take out of service, it has an issue with the insulation because we operate it at lower than its rating. We've been able to keep it going. Each one of these units has 1,350 gallons of oil in it, a leak hazard. It'd be replaced with a modern style which has a gas system. Before we took bids on February 25th, the total project estimate was $1.5 million. After receiving the bids, We've reduced the total project cost down to $1 million. We retained SIGA as the project engineer to prepare specifications. The specifications included 3 options for the type of monitoring system that would be included in the transformer. The base bid is just your basic stuff, which is basically gauges on the side. And then the upgrades are all various types of electronic systems that would tie into our SCADA system and our monitoring. We opened 5 bids on February 25. After we'd advertised in the Gardner News, we'd advertised on the website, sent bids to 5 substation transformer suppliers. The bids range from, as far as the base bid, from a low submitted by ABB of $534,025 to a high of Ilgen of $743,075. After review, the option 1, which matches the type of relays and electronic systems we have, which is by Schweitzer Electronic Laboratories, would be $542,755 is the low bid. The high would be $750,495. The estimate was $900,000. The engineers reviewed. All these bidders generally submit quite a few exceptions to the specifications and some to the contract language. The engineer has reviewed all the technical specifications and found them to be acceptable. In the letter that was attached, letter of recommendation, there were 6 items in the general conditions that were accepted. We've had the city attorney review those. One of those he has rejected. It's a very minor thing. It's about 3 words. There's another that he's asked, and 2 is asked for clarifications on. One that was concerning both the attorney and myself involved the warranty issue. There's one piece of the warranty that's called in-out. And what that means, if should the transformer fail during its 5-year warranty period and be required to be removed and shipped to the factory, the bidder wanted to limit their cost to 10% for that shipping cost and wanted that to only apply to their first year. After discussion with the engineer and the supplier, the 10% limitation was very reasonable. If this had to be shipped to their Boston factory, it probably cost the neighborhood of around $25,000. The 10% limitation would be $50,000 plus. So financially, it's a safe bet for the city. They also agreed to extend it to the full 5-year period, so that concern was waived. The only other item is there was a performance bond, which is very typical of most of your road projects, building projects. It was not included in their bid, but would cost an extra $6,400 per year. In reviewing that, typically on these, the only real labor portion is about $30,000 for installation. The rest of it is all supply of materials and shipping, which is more of a commodities type contract. So that could be waived. If we chose to add that onto the bid, we could do so, but it can be safely waived. We do have a good warranty, a 5-year warranty, and we also have a statutory bond, which is a payment bond required by the state statutes for any contract over $100,000. So by waiving this performance bond, we're really not giving up anything. With that, we did review this with the Utility Advisory Committee on the first meeting, on their meeting this month, and they do recommend acceptance of the bids and award. The caveat is, since we still have about 2 very small items open, we would like to, basically the award would be with the approval of the city attorney for the contract. I have notified the bidder today. The attorney was able to get back with me late today, and I have notified them of the 2 items that are still outstanding, and I would recommend proceeding with an award with that caveat. The award would include the option 1, which is the type of monitoring equipment that matches our system. The total amount would be $542,755. The funding would be by a taxable general obligation bond, which Laura will address later. We will temporarily finance this from cash reserves, wait to sell the bonds until we've got all our contracts in and have a pretty firm price, so that'll be later this year. But with the taxable bonds, we don't have some of the restrictions we would with a tax exempt bond. You have to answer any questions.
Well, real quick, before we get started on questions, we're gonna see if there's anyone that's in attendance that would like to make public comments regarding new business item number 1. With no one coming forward, questions for David Green regarding new business item number 1?
Dave, on the cost breakdown on the remove and dispose of the transformer and the breakers, is that all under the same company? Is that under the same contract?
No, the only thing that's in this contract, if you look at the one item, there's 3 line items there. One totals out of basically transformer replacement. The only part in this contract is contract to supply and install transformer. We currently have a contract with Sega for basically the design, which is $20,000. We'll have to have another contract with them for construction support. The breaker, that would be a separate contract. We will still need to enter into the contract with an engineer to get those bids put together. So this is all kind of a progressive thing. The contract for the breaker, you'll probably see that come back to you this summer. They're running at about 6-month lead time. Actually, the transformers are only about a 6-month lead time. When we bid this out, they're running about a year from what we heard. We've told them we still don't want this thing delivered until March, just because we don't want the warranty to kick in any sooner than it has to. The warranty is set up, it's delivered, it's a 66 months from delivery or 60 months from in service. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Other questions? Now I'd entertain a motion.
Move we approve new business item number 1.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Winters, that we award the transformer supply and installation contract to ABB Incorporated for the transformer number 1 replacement project, city project number 1402, in the base bid, including option 1, amount of $542,755, and authorize the city administrator to execute the contract with ABB Incorporated, subject to the city attorney's review and approval of the contract. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Business item number 1 passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. New business item number 2, consider adopting an ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $1,050,000 to pay the cost of a transformer replacement for the city's electric utility, all pursuant to Charter Ordinance number 12 of the City of Gardner. Laura, welcome back to the podium.
Thanks. It's been previously determined that Transformer 1 and the circuit breaker and breaker controls need to be replaced. The Utility Advisory Commission has recommended this, and council just committed to this project just now. So since you are committed to the project, it's necessary to approve the debt financing of the overall project. As you can see, there is a financing component in that. The city's financial advisor, Kimball, provided that. As Dave said, funding for this project will be temporarily paid out of the electric fund, and the electric fund will be reimbursed for the project expenses from the proceeds of the bonds, and the debt payments will also be paid from the electric fund. You had an estimate provided in here for 10 years, and those were for taxable bonds. The annual debt service payments average $121,000 a year. A very brief discussion of, if you care to hear it, of taxable bonds is taxable geodebt. It's really not about the city so much. It's about the investors buying your bond. Taxable means the interest that they earn from purchasing the bond is not tax exempt. It is less restrictive for the city. For example, there's no need for reimbursement concerned about timelines, because there's spend down requirements for the tax exempt kind. If we should actually make positive arbitrage because there's something to invest in that makes a little money, we can keep it. I don't know that we'll ever be able to invest anything high enough to earn anything. Basically what you're doing with taxable geodebt is you're issuing only under state law that has a lot less requirements than the federal laws. So that's very brief and high level, and a large part of that is because when we generate and distribute electricity, because we belong to various power pools, we don't know who the end user is. And so if you can't track private-public activity, we don't want to get involved in that. We'll just do them taxable and be safe.
Sure. Okay, at the end of your presentation, I can open the floor for public
Well,
comments.
basically, if you've committed to this project and you're going to issue debt, you have to officially say so. That's what the rest of it is.
Okay, well, and we're just going to follow the procedure.
Okay, good.
I'm sure that that's what we're going to do.
Good.
Is there anyone in attendance that would like to make public comment regarding the business item number 2? With no one coming forward, questions for Laura? If not, I would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 2480.
I move we adopt ordinance number 2480.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Winters, that we adopt ordinance number 2480, authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $1,050,000 to pay the cost of a transformer replacement for the city's electric utility, all pursuant to Charter Ordinance number 12 of the City of Gardner. Freeman.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2480 passes. Okay. There it is. New business item number 3. Consider an ordinance approving a revised preliminary development plan for Waverly Point. Brian, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. PDP 1402 is a revised preliminary development plan and plat for remaining portions of land zoned RP3 of the Planned Garden Apartment District within Waverly Point, owned by Ken Rogler of Waverly 175 LLC. A little background and history here. This is the original plan. We do not have applications for those. No application for that. And we did receive application for that in the past. The proposed project does include future construction of 7 multifamily attached residential buildings on 32 privately owned lots, as well as easements and rights-of-way for future infrastructure improvements. The submitted application does include a few modifications from the previous development plan, including 7 fewer dwelling units, 20 feet of additional road right-of-way along 175th, and some additional setbacks and lot area variations from the city zoning regulations. These variations are acceptable as part of a planned zoning district. Right. One of the things we talked about, 20 feet of additional right-of-way. Future improvements to 175th Street will require road widening, so this was the time to go and get that additional right-of-way. The revised development plan is part of a larger, roughly 80-acre land area previously approved by a rezoning request. An associated preliminary development plan was approved by the City Council in April of 2009. 2007. At their February 24th meeting, the Planning Commission did hold a public hearing for the revised preliminary development plan for the 4.8 acre portion of the Waverly Point subdivision. The item was unanimously approved with all commissioners present. So staff recommendation, staff recommends the City Council adopt ordinance number, is that 2481? Approving the revised preliminary development plan, application PDP 1402 for a 4.8 acre portion of Waverly Point subdivision.
Right, thank you.
And the owner and applicant are here this evening.
Very good. Public comment regarding new business item number 3?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Judd Clausen with Phelps Engineering. I'm the civil engineer for the project, representing Ken and Lisa Rogler of Waverly 175. I really don't have a whole lot more to add other than what Brian had said, but as you kind of could see from the pictures of before and after, it's still the same cul-de-sac. We've got 2 fewer units. We dedicated a little bit more right-of-way, and we're really just kind of cleaning up some setbacks that were implied with the first preliminary plat, but not really well documented. So that's really the nuts and bolts of it.
Anyone have questions for the applicant or for Brian?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Doesn't look like we're going to have any questions. I'd entertain a motion on ordinance number 2481.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Freeman, second Winters, that we adopt ordinance number 2481, approving the revised preliminary development plan application PDP 1402 for a 4.8 acre portion of the Waverly Point subdivision. Freeman?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Roberts?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2481 passes. Just do you have language for the executive session?
I do. I move we recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters relating to non-elected personnel pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1, beginning at 9:54, or sorry, 8:54? Returning to regular session, 9:24.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Freeman, that we adjourn into executive session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We're adjourned.